Welcome to Auto News Talk.
Glad to be here.
Usually, when we talk about buying a car, the focus is entirely on the vehicle itself, you know?
Right. The fun stuff, the horsepower, the design.
Exactly. That feeling of gripping the steering wheel.
Yeah.
But the auto industry is currently facing this massive structural squeeze.
It really is.
And between spiraling vehicle prices and wildly shifting consumer loyalties, the battleground for your wallet isn't just about the metal sitting on the lot anymore.
Yeah, not at all.
It is a brutal, high-stakes fight that spans the entire customer life cycle. From the very first digital click you make on your phone to the physical showroom floor, all the way back to the service bay.
It's basically a battle of inches at this point. And the auto industry is bleeding capital in some completely unexpected places.
Right.
We're looking at a landscape where consumer behavior is forcing dealerships to just rethink every single interaction.
I want to focus on that bleeding capital for a second because we're going to explore one specific moment where dealerships are losing over $12,000 per customer.
Which is just a staggering number.
It is. And it's not over a lifetime of bad business, but by failing to ask one simple question at the point of sale.
It's an incredible oversight when you put all the pieces together. So for our journey on Auto News Talk, we're going to track the modern auto consumer's path.
I kind of follow them step by step.
Exactly. We will start by examining the overarching macroeconomic pressures that are driving shopper anxiety right now.
The big picture.
Right. Then we will move into the digital arena to see how dealerships are fighting to capture that initial attention. From there, we will explore a really fascinating countertrend: why massive, expensive new physical showrooms are still being built in an era of digital retail.
Which feels completely backwards.
It really does.
No.
And finally, we will arrive at that hidden gold mine, keeping those customers in the service lane.
So let's start with the big picture, the overarching economic reality that is basically dictating every single move a consumer makes.
Setting the stage.
Yeah. The data team over at Cox Automotive just crunched the numbers on the industry's sales outlook, and they report that U.S. auto sales are holding near a 16.1 million seasonally adjusted sales rate, or SAAR.
Right.
And total volume is sitting at about 1.38 million vehicles.
We should probably pause and clarify what that SAAR metric actually does, because it really is the heartbeat of industry forecasting.
It's thrown around a lot.
It is. So the SAAR strips away all the calendar noise, like, how many selling weekends happen to fall in a particular reporting cycle or seasonal holidays, just to show the underlying fundamental consumer demand.
So it smooths everything out.
Exactly. So hitting a 16.1 million SAAR actually shows a pretty solid, steady cadence.
But, I mean, it is down from the 17.1 million rate we saw in previous periods. Though, to be fair, as the Cox data points out, those higher historical numbers were actually artificially inflated by some temporary tariff-related market dynamics.
Right. It wasn't a sustainable baseline.
Exactly. So the baseline demand is holding, but it still feels like consumers are walking a tightrope.
They absolutely are. The analysis highlights severe economic headwinds pulling the consumer down. We're talking rising fuel prices, renewed inflation pressures, and historically low consumer confidence.
All the heavy stuff.
Right. But those are fighting against some surprisingly strong tailwinds, keeping the market afloat. Specifically, strong tax refunds and record-level equity markets.
Ah, the stock market.
Yeah. But because affordability is the absolute center of gravity right now, buyers are actively shifting toward lower-priced or more efficient models.
Okay, wait, I have to stop you there. Because if consumer confidence is fundamentally shattered, are people seriously buying depreciating assets like cars just because their stock portfolios are up?
It sounds wild, but yes.
I mean, that feels like building a skyscraper on a fault line and just hoping the ground doesn't shift.
You have hit on the exact limitation of the Cox Automotive analysis. Their data lays out the raw numbers, but what it doesn't tell us is how long unrealized stock market gains can realistically prop up consumer spending.
Because it's just paper money until you sell.
Precisely. If a buyer's daily reality feels financially insecure, a booming stock market is a very fragile foundation for taking on a massive auto loan.
And because that foundation is so fragile, consumers are guarding their wallets aggressively, which means dealerships are finding that they have to be absolutely flawless online just to win a shrinking share of those dollars.
They can't afford any mistakes.
Right. Every digital interaction has to justify the expense.
Which perfectly transitions us into the digital arena, where the battle for attention has really reached a fever pitch.
He's cutthroat out there.
Very. So a breakdown of emerging digital marketing tools details a platform called Firon. And they have launched an automated video ad technology built specifically for TikTok.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but this isn't just a generic glossy brand commercial. It generates unique VIN-level videos for live physical inventory.
I saw this, and the mechanism is wild. According to the platform's own reported statistics, 89% of TikTok users express an interest in cars.
Which is a huge captive audience.
Exactly. So instead of a dealership just hoping someone searches for them on Google, this software connects a dealer's real-time inventory feed directly to the TikTok ad platform.
Talk about targeted.
Right. It completely removes the creative bottleneck. Instead of a human manually editing a video for every single car on the lot, the system just generates a real-time short-form video for livestock and matches it algorithmically to in-market shoppers.
And the efficiency is the whole point of this. It promotes the entire dealership lot, not just the 3 shiny flagship models parked in the front row.
The ones everyone always sees.
Right. As soon as a car is sold and flagged in the system, the ad comes down. As soon as a new unit rolls off the transport truck, a new video automatically goes up.
It's incredibly smart. But let's look at the fine print on this for a second, because there is a massive data flaw in their pitch.
Oh.
Yeah. The source highlights a very impressive statistic claiming this automated video tech generates 50% more leads compared to static photo ads.
Which sounds great.
It does. However, if you read closely, that specific performance metric is based on results from meta platforms, so Facebook and Instagram.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it has not been independently verified to work the same way or yield the same conversion rates on TikTok. I mean, the algorithms and user behaviors are entirely different.
That is a crucial distinction to make. A view on TikTok does not equal a submitted credit application.
Not even close.
Right. And even if we assume the technology works flawlessly and generates a flood of new leads, a different analysis, this one featuring the CEO of DriveCentric, argues that generating those leads is completely pointless if the dealership software just loses them.
Yes. This brings us to the concept of lead leakage.
The dreaded leak.
Exactly. And the argument here is that legacy customer relationship management systems, the old CRMs that dealerships have used for decades, are actively causing dealers to drop the ball, because these old systems just rely on static task lists.
Think about what that looks like in practice. A salesperson logs in, drinks their coffee, and looks at a static spreadsheet of people to call that day. But the drive-centric perspective is that a static list is a literal death sentence in modern retail.
It's like fishing with a bucket that has no bottom. On one hand, you have a tool like Fyron acting as this automated AI-powered net scooping up highly targeted fish on TikTok.
Catching all the leads.
Yeah, but then you dump those leads into a legacy CRM and the fish just fall right back into the water. The salesperson is staring at a stale task list from yesterday, while the customer is actively watching a vehicle walk-around video on their phone in real time.
And that disconnect is precisely why DriveCentric argues that dealerships need to consolidate everything into one real-time engagement hub.
Get everyone on the same page.
Exactly. Sales, finance and insurance, the service department, and the business development center all need to operate from the exact same brain. You have to monitor live signals.
Like tracking their clicks.
Yes. If a customer is engaging with that automated video or clicking on a specific vehicle page, the staff needs to swarm that active shopper immediately.
And the drive-centric analysis connects this to a much larger technological shift. The arrival of agentic AI.
Which is huge.
It is, because for an AI agent to function properly, to actually negotiate, answer complex questions, and handle customer interactions, it requires a single consistent voice and access to all that cross-department data. Fragmented software tools just create conflicting messages and completely confuse the AI.
But here is where we need to inject a heavy dose of reality into this. Because the source forcefully pushes for this massive tech consolidation, but they completely gloss over the operational nightmare required to achieve it.
Exactly. I mean, have you ever actually watched a company try to migrate decades of customer data to a brand new CRM?
It is a bloodbath.
It really is. You're talking about ripping out the central nervous system of a business, migrating unstructured data, and retraining hundreds of employees who are highly resistant to change.
They hate it.
They do. The source paints this as a simple software upgrade, but it is a monumental, painful cultural shift for a dealership.
The operational pain is immense. But, okay, let's assume a dealership survives that migration. Let's assume they catch the lead on TikTok, plug the CRM leak, and engage perfectly.
A perfect digital flow.
Right. Digital engagement alone still isn't enough to close the deal, because when consumers are nervous about spending $40,000, they ultimately require visceral human trust.
Which explains a massive contradiction in the market right now.
Yeah.
Because if digital tools are perfectly optimizing the top of the funnel, why isn't it translating to purely online sales? We constantly hear that the physical dealership is dead. Yet, against all digital logic, brands are pouring millions into brick-and-mortar showrooms.
A strategic breakdown of the Chinese automaker Aeon entering the UK market provides a perfect case study for this exact contradiction.
Okay, let's hear it.
They are a brand new player in that region, and instead of a sleek direct-to-consumer digital model, they are rolling out a highly traditional dealer-first strategy. Yeah. They are aiming for 25 initial retail points, eventually expanding to 100 locations to ensure comprehensive nationwide coverage.
The way they are structuring their pitch to the consumer is fascinating, too. They are launching a battery electric vehicle, the Aeon V, but they are wrapping it in this massive safety blanket they call the Aeon Great 8 package.
Which is very clever marketing.
It is. It bundles an extended 8-term warranty, 8 cycles of servicing, their annual MOT safety checks, which is the mandatory vehicle safety test in the UK, and a partnership with the AA, which is essentially the UK's equivalent of AAA for roadside assistance.
Furthermore, while they are launching with a pure EV, the strategy explicitly outlines plans to add plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, or PHEVs, to their lineup.
Offering a bridge.
Exactly. They want to position themselves broadly as an electrified brand, giving cautious consumers a stepping stone before forcing them to go fully electric.
It is a massive play for trust. I mean, think about it. If you are a financially stressed buyer looking at a brand new nameplate you've never even heard of, a digital ad isn't going to be enough. Not at all. Knowing there is a physical building you can drive to, backed by a long-term guarantee and roadside assistance, that radically reduces the perceived risk. They are betting heavily on culturally aligned brick-and-mortar dealer networks to legitimize their brand.
It absolutely builds essential trust. But the open question, the limitation we really have to call out with Aeon's strategy, is agility.
Are they moving too slow?
Exactly. Can a slow, capital-intensive traditional dealer rollout actually move fast enough to capture market share against aggressive direct-to-consumer rivals who can enter a market with just a fraction of the overhead?
It's a huge financial gamble. And Aeon isn't the only entity doubling down on physical real estate. There's another operations report that details the Virtue dealer group, and they are expanding their footprint with a new Geely site in Birmingham.
Right.
And they are spending £400,000 on a heavy refurbishment of an existing Ford dealership.
The logistics outlined in this move are highly strategic, though. Virtue is uniquely operating the new Geely franchise out of the site's used car showroom.
Oh, that's smart.
It is. This keeps sales revenue flowing while the massive construction happens on the main building. But the most critical detail is that they are maintaining their Ford authorized repairer status while converting the new showroom space.
That is a brilliant maneuver because it perfectly illustrates the strategic value of repurposing existing high-traffic real estate.
Maximize the space.
Exactly. You get the flash of showcasing a brand new vehicle brand to the public in the front while quietly holding on to the highly lucrative legacy after-sales business from the previous brand in the back.
Though the report does leave some rather large practical gaps.
Like what?
Well, it fails to specify exactly what Genie models will even be sold there once the dust settles on this £400,000 renovation. Or, for that matter, how the used car operations will function long-term once they eventually have to vacate that temporary space.
So if we look at the whole board, we have these incredible digital tools trying to automate the top of the funnel, but then massive global players betting millions on physical brick-and-mortar showrooms.
A total paradox.
Right. And the contradiction only resolves when you look at the back of the building. The common thread between the Aeon Great 8 package and Virtue holding on to that Ford servicing status is after sales.
And that brings us to the final and most critical stop on the consumer journey. The million-dollar service lane.
The hidden gold mine.
Exactly. Because while dealerships are fighting tooth and nail over front-end vehicle margins, the fixed operations department is where the industry is losing a shocking amount of money.
This statistic is genuinely terrifying. According to a fixed operations and ownership study from Cox Automotive, dealerships are forfeiting an estimated $12,398 in lifetime service revenue every single time a new vehicle customer goes to an independent shop instead of coming back to the dealer.
Over $12,000 in lost revenue per customer.
Unbelievable.
If a dealership loses 100 customers a cycle to local mechanics, that is over $1.2 million in lifetime value just vaporized. And the Cox data shows that the dealer share of service visits has slipped down to just 29%.
But here is the truly baffling part of that drop-off. The same study reveals that a massive 80% of buyers explicitly intend to return to the dealership for service the moment they buy the car.
So they want to come back.
They do. And the data shows that dealership service actually costs less on average than independent shops. It's $261 per visit at the dealer versus $275 at the general repair shop.
Which means it is not a price problem. It is a fundamental communication and trust problem.
Completely.
Consumers inherently assume the dealership is a ripoff, even when the hard data proves otherwise. So to bridge this gap, the Cox report highlights what they call the transparency gap.
And the solution to that gap is visual proof.
Yes.
When service advisors add photos or videos to their repair estimates, like literally texting the customer a video of their worn brake pad while the car is on the lift, it increases the customer's spend by about $230 per visit.
Seeing is believing. It bypasses the customer's natural defensive shield. When an advisor just calls and says a part is broken, the customer instantly assumes they are being upsold.
Of course they do.
But when the customer sees the physical damage on their phone, the conversation changes from defense to collaboration.
We also have to factor in the electric vehicle impact here, too. Because the Cox Fixed Ops study shows EVs are incredibly lucrative in the service lane, generating about $417 per visit.
Wow.
Yeah. But the most vital insight from this data is that the service lane isn't just for repairs anymore. It is a retail gateway. The study pinpoints a very specific psychological trigger. When a repair estimate hits $3,195, a customer stops thinking about fixing the car and starts having a repair versus replace conversation in their head.
Which makes it the absolute perfect moment to pitch a trade-in.
Exactly.
I mean, the customer is staring at a massive repair bill. They are already sitting in a dealership that sells new cars, and you have their exact vehicle sitting right there, fully inspected and ready to appraise. Is an entirely captive audience.
But the data doesn't address one massive, glaring vulnerability with this whole visual transparency strategy.
The copycats.
Right. What happens when independent mechanics inevitably adopt the exact same photo and video technology? Dealerships will completely lose that unique technological edge.
It is an arms race for trust, without a doubt. And if we pull all these disparate threads together, 3 distinct themes really emerge from the terrain we have covered.
Let's lay them out.
First, the absolute necessity of visual transparency. We see this explicitly supported by the Firon VIN-level video ads catching the digital eye, and it is perfectly mirrored by the Cox fixed ops data showing that video repair estimates drive immediate revenue.
They need to see it to believe it.
Exactly. Consumers demand to see exactly what they're paying for, whether it's the sheet metal on the lot or the brake pad on the lift.
The second overarching theme is the heavy reliance on after-sales for basic survival. Aon is using their Great 8 guarantee to build their entire brand identity from scratch. And that staggering $12,000 lifetime value metric from the Cox service study proves exactly why holding onto that customer is a make-or-break financial imperative.
And the third theme is the critical need for integration. DriveCentric's push for a unified CRM demands that digital tools talk to each other to prevent lead leakage. And that philosophy aligns perfectly with Virtu's real-world strategy of housing multiple brand sales and service operations under one functional physical roof.
The entire machine has to be connected.
It does, but it's clearly not without friction, because there are 2 major tensions operating in the market right now. First, there is this aggressive push to automate everything at the top of the funnel using algorithms and TikTok to scoop up leads, as Firon and DriveCentric advocate.
It's the digital detachment.
Right. But that directly contrasts with the heavy, expensive investments in physical human trust being made by brands like Aon and Virtu.
And the second major tension is the massive gap between consumer perception and reality regarding pricing. I mean, the Cox fixed ops data explicitly proves that dealers are surprisingly cheaper per visit than independent mechanics, yet consumers overwhelmingly assume the exact opposite and just defect anyway.
So, after walking through the macro pressures, the digital nets, the physical showrooms, and the service lane bleed, what is the ultimate practical takeaway?
What's the bottom line?
It's surprisingly simple. Never let a customer leave the first transaction without booking the second. You have to lock in that first service appointment the exact moment you hand over the keys to the new car.
Stop the leakage before they even drive off the lot.
Exactly. The entire life cycle is a single, continuous loop.
And that wraps up our journey on Auto News Talk. In an era where every single digital lead costs a small fortune and macroeconomic pressures are squeezing every wallet, the most revolutionary thing a dealership can do isn't just adopting the latest AI or building a shinier showroom.
No, it's not.
It's simply remembering to ask the customer to stay.
Just ask the question.
So, the next time you walk into a dealership, pay attention to the handoff between the salesperson and the service desk. That 30-second interaction is the multi-$1,000 battleground of the future.